Really been proud of ourselves for keeping those goals and meeting them. So that's a little bit about me. I would love to know about you. If in the chat you would please let me know who you are, where you're from, what role you play in your school or in your district. Would love to meet you all. So I'm going to give you a minute to type in the chat and let me know who you are. If you haven't had a chance, I think they should have given you access to making your name tag for NC Bold. These are super fun. They are fun in person when they're really long. And I thought it was great. Whoever created these for us did an awesome job. And so I would encourage you to do that and then post it out there on social media. All right, we got some people answering here. Awesome. Media coordinator from Ashe County. Welcome. Math teacher from Cherokee. Okay, math teacher, I see you. Instructional coach from Cumberland County. Nice to have you, Crystal and Gladys. And Lisa. Mary, hello. Nice to have you. Jennifer is from Clinton High and AP US. Awesome. Preschool teacher, super. I think some of these will be really good even there too for at the preschool level. So I think you'll be able to see some really cool ways to use that. Education program administrator, welcome, Tanya. We have Amanda, another high school math teacher from Winston-Salem. And Michelle is an EC teacher in Catawba County at the Hickory Public Schools. Cool. I have a great range of folks in here and I'm excited to have you all with me. Excited to talk about my favorite thing, which is, or one of my favorite things, which is educational technology. So super pleased to have you all with me. All right, now I just got back from the beach, literally like yesterday, drove in from the beach, came home to two cats who've been wondering where we were and then had to go pick up the dogs. So I don't know if you're like me. I know you all have possibly been doing NC Bold presentations and attending for the last 24 hours, but I wonder where you land on the meme scale today. So if you would in the chat, give us which meme you identify with the most here. I think some of them may be hard to understand what they are, but I know that in number 6, he is extremely excited. Number 4, he's trying to stay awake. Oh, we've got a 2. All right. So Crystal, you feeling tired? Just want to take a nap, maybe? We've got Kermit the Frog, a couple number 5s. Tell me why you're feeling that way. Why are we 5s? Is it related to all the information you're getting? Is it because school's about to start? And Crystal, are you just wanting to take a nap or is it raining where you are? Summer is almost over. I know. Okay, overwhelmed. I know. Yeah, and IT stuff. So I get that. Nervous about the upcoming school year, a lot on the plate, new things. Yeah, so the general feeling here is there's so much to do, and I get that. I have been moving around the campus today for meeting after meeting and just sort of making sure things get organized the way that they need to before school starts. Our school, I'm in Rowan County. Excuse me, I'm in Rowan County and we start on August 11th, but our teachers come back in 2 weeks. So making sure that we're really prepared for everybody to be back. And I know it's so much information. Hopefully what I present you with today won't add too much to that plate. Maybe will help you to see some things that will be really beneficial in your classrooms or in your schools and ways that you can use them that won't feel too overwhelming. But before I share some of those tools, I want to talk for a second about something you've possibly heard of, but I do want to go over and just make sure that we talk for a second about a little bit of theory, which is there's TPACK and SAMR. It's how people generally pronounce them, or SAMR. So TPACK is on the left side there. Somebody created an image there to be used. And it talks about understanding our pedagogy, our content, but also technology. And when we think about TPACK and we think about the ways that our knowledge of these three things, content, pedagogy, and technology, the way that they overlap, it helps us to identify appropriate times and identify appropriate technologies to use in the classroom. So making sure TPACK helps us make sure that we're picking the right tools with whatever we're teaching or however we're teaching it. We want to make sure that we're identifying the appropriate styles to be used and that we are putting them at the right time, which leads us into SAMR, which is basically figuring out the how and the why for technology use specifically. You can see that there is sort of a scale from bottom to top, substitution up to redefinition. So the substitution is the lowest level kind of use of a tool. The substitution acts as a direct tool substitute with no functional change. And then we go all the way up into the transformation element, which is the redefinition, where the technology allows for creation of new tasks that are previously inconceivable. We can choose tools for a lot of different reasons. So think about a time that we, in the past, especially when a new tool comes out, that we just decide to use it because it seems cool. Everybody's using it, right? It becomes something that we want to use because our neighbor is using it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it fits what we're doing in the best way. So TPACK and SAMR help us really think about how we can use those tools and use them appropriately in the classroom so that they work the best for the students at that time. And you can find information about TPACK and SAMR all over the internet. If you just Google them, if you're not already familiar, then you can dig deep into this rabbit hole and get information about both of them. So one thing that I like to do is take it just really simple down to something that I would do in my classroom. So for instance, if I'm working with paper and pencil, I can replace that or substitute that with a computer and a word processor. While it makes it easier to an extent, I'm really just replacing, right? I haven't done anything extremely miraculous by handing the students a computer. However, if it's an essay assignment that I could have done with paper and pencil, we can then transform that into something a little more like a documentary or a podcast, which still has the pieces of the essay assignment. I'm still using the computer, but now I'm taking it a little bit further and making it more in depth with having the students do something a little more with a critical lens. Kathy Schrock put together SAMR with Bloom's. And so you can see how she has the traditional teacher designs the task using traditional pedagogy with technology supports. And she identifies that with just the remembering portion of Bloom's. And then as you move up to the complete transformation with SAMR, where the student is then now driving the learning experience, that gets up towards the evaluating and the creating of Bloom's. So it's important when you look at the technology or the tool that you're going to use, that you also consider what it's going to do for the students. Are we just substituting for something we already have? Or are we actually building and creating something a little more substantial for the students to then take over and be more critical with their use? So again, I sort of mentioned this at the beginning. As you think of a way that you'd use a tool that I'm going to be sharing, please definitely put that in the chat or ask a question in the chat. I would love anybody that has ideas, that if somebody asks a question and you see their question and you're willing to share how you would use it, I'll definitely give my input. But if you're willing to share how you would use it, I'd love to see that as well. So I called this one Back Pocket Tools because, like I said, there are things that we have seen and used for a good long time. Sometimes we forget about them or we take them for granted, and or things that are newer to us, and I have used them before and see that they are very beneficial. And so I wanted to share that these are items I would put in my back pocket right now and have in my back pocket as my go-tos. So we're going to work through these. We probably will finish before the actual 80 minutes is complete. But I wanted to walk through each of them, talk about them. We have some that we're going to use and have you get your hands dirty and try them out. And then we'll come back together and have some questions and answer opportunity. So if you haven't used Remind 101 or Google Voice, this is something that I continuously use. I use them all the time, one way or the other. And something I would highly recommend. I was told today of a different tool called Talking Points that I'm going to be researching. So that's another one you could write down if you're writing things down. So Remind 101 is nice because I don't have to have anybody's phone number. People sign up for that with either a link or a code, and then I am able to send out information, whether it's an image, a document, just a reminder, etc. So you can see on the left side of this picture that I have provided, that I have taken a picture of something we've done with our faculty. So our faculty has a Remind. It's a quick and easy way for everybody to get the same text or the same information without having to have a text chain, right? I think a lot of us have been in those moments where we're part of a texting group that we didn't want to be part of. And so all the responses come in, and it's really frustrating and annoying to have all those responses. Remind 101 takes that away. It also removes me having to have student phone numbers or parent phone numbers and vice versa for them to have my phone number if I'm not comfortable with that. So Remind 101 is really beneficial there. I've used it not only as a parent receiving information. My daughter's dance studio uses Remind 101. I find it to be phenomenal for that purpose as a parent, but also as the administrator sending out information to my staff. This summer, we've had summer school, so we've created different groups for the June summer school, the July summer school, and that has been really beneficial to kind of send a blast out all at the same time. I used it when I was the preschool chair for our church preschool, and this was how we kept the parents involved. So we only had 30 students anyway. It was easy to get everybody into Remind, and then when we had weather issues, we were able to use Remind kind of as the robocall would happen from a school system. Google Voice is something that you use in Google. It's completely free. The only caveat that I have there is that for our school system, the paid version of Google for our school system doesn't allow Google Voice. So I've had to go a different route and use my personal email, Gmail. But the cool thing about Google Voice is it does allow me to text with the students, but as you can see on the right side there, it keeps a transcript of all of those texts. And it's on my computer and easy to access. I can do it from my computer or I can do it from my phone. So when I taught for NCVPS, like I said, I taught there for 11 years. This was an excellent way for me to interact with my students and my parents and still have a record of that for the purpose of keeping up with a contact log or being able to figure out that, yes, I did talk to the student or tell the student whatever I told them. So really beneficial, both of these in sort of different ways, but sort of the same idea. So Remind 101 and Google Voice are excellent communication tools. I would highly recommend. All right, now we're going to do something where I'm going to ask you to step out and try out a tool. This is VoiceThread. This is an oldie but a goodie. This is one that has been around for quite some years, but I come back to it all the time to use because I think it provides a really cool way for people to interact with one another. It's similar to Flipgrid, except that it does provide more of this thread look here, whereas Flipgrid, it just looks a little different. So what I'm going to ask you to do in just a moment, I'll put the link in the chat, is to pop out to VoiceThread. You may be prompted to create an account, so I'll let you make that decision as to whether or not you want to make one. It may let you do it anonymously. It's going to give you, this is not what yours is going to look like when you pop out to the VoiceThread. It's going to give you a prompt and ask you to respond to one of the two threads that are already on there or to create your own thread. And so you can do it with text, you can do it with voice, you can do it with a phone, etc. But I'd like you to pop out there, and I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to give you about 7 minutes, which is a really random number, but I wanted you to have a chance to play for a second and look around. So about 7 minutes, and if you have questions, you can throw them here into the chat, but I'd like you to go try VoiceThread, okay? So click that and let me know if there's any problems. Okay, so I hope you had a chance to play in there. I'm not seeing responses pop up. Did you all have a chance to attempt, or was it being goofy for you? Oh, there's some. So the cool thing about VoiceThread is that, I was able to put this background here and I just loaded that in when I created it. And then I added in the options, two of them, and then I can see that there was a response at least or a comment. And so as they're loaded, they show up here with initials. And then if there's a thread, they show up underneath that thread. So VoiceThread can be a really cool way to do some asynchronous conversation. We've done this with our staff as far as asking them to read something and then come back and respond. Like I said, it's an oldie but a goodie. I used this in grad school and my professors liked it then and it still works now. And I find it to be a tool that's really beneficial and easy, relatively easy once it's set up. So I hope that if you didn't already know about it, that that's something that you could potentially see using. All right. The next one is called Loom. Has anybody heard of Loom? Give me a thumbs up if you have. Loom is an opportunity or a spot to actually do recordings. And what's cool about Loom is as soon as you create your recording, you have an immediate link and it says feedback. It's supposed to say HTML. So what's neat is if I am using an LMS like Canvas, where I can embed videos or embed items, I can create a video in Loom and it's 15 minutes. I can screen record my computer. My webcam can be on there so they can see my face the whole time. And then I can then put it into my LMS or send the link to anyone that needs it. It is free. You can have a free account, especially you can have a free account to do a lot of other things, especially if you can verify your teacher and education status. So they ask for some information on your email so they can verify that it's a education-based email and all that sort of stuff. This is one, this isn't a live link, but this is one that I created in response to a professional development I was in. We were given a drawing and we were able to talk. And so I was just able to sit there and talk about it. You can see that I talked for about a minute and 20 seconds. This is cool for providing feedback to students, especially on something like a Google Doc or any sort of paper that you've received digitally, because you can pull it up and point things out to them. But you can create any sort of screencast this way, lots of ways to explain, to provide information to folks, and then get that free link. And it's not something you have to download and edit. So it's pretty cool. You can see on the side though that I can trim the video, I can make it, I can update my thumbnail so that it looks like something more than just a picture of my screen. Lots of options here. So I would recommend Loom. I have several teachers who used it this past school year and it became sort of like the buzz tool that everybody was using because it's just so simple. Next is Jamboard. My guess is that you've possibly heard about Jamboard, but if not, we are going to play there for just a second as well. So this is similar to Google Slides. It is based in Google, and it depends on the option that you put in for your response, but it can be a longer or a shorter response. You can put just text, or you can add, you can see in this picture, some things look like sticky notes, etc. What I'm going to ask you to do is just go over to the Jamboard that I have created, and I want you to just sort of play there. I want you to actually type in or add a note on the Jamboard, and I'm going to go over to it so we can see that it populating. But you'll just, this is definitely free. You don't have to have any sort of account necessarily. And I labeled all these things NC Ties. This is NC Bold. But how can you or do you use Jamboard? So you can see on my screen, I can add a sticky note if I wanted to. And once I type, it turns into a sticky note. I can just add a text box and do whatever I want with it, and so on. So please take a second and play here for a moment, see what it's like to use Jamboard. I see you guys playing around. That's awesome. Oh, we're right on it. I love it. So as you're playing, a cool thing about several cool things about Jamboard. It's like Padlet, but it's not Padlet, right? It to me has a fresher look to it. I feel like Padlet can get really long when people start to post on it. And the thing with Jamboard is that I can add more frames. So if as I hit to the right, it adds more frames here. As you see, you can have the different sticky notes. I can provide options for this background. So I created this background myself. Didn't do anything horribly fancy, but I went onto Canva, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and I created a Google Slide size. So the size of this background is the same size as a Google Slide. And then I went to set background, and this one right here allows me to upload an image. You have to do that if I have 10 of these frames, you have to do that for each frame. But what that allows is then nobody's messing up the background, if that makes sense. So obviously you guys know that you now know that you can move everything around. It doesn't matter that I didn't make these. I'm currently moving them around. Technically, because I'm allowed to edit, I could actually go change what somebody else has written. So if I wanted to, what we've done is with our staff, and I've done it with students, is I've created a different page. So if I have 6 groups in a class, then I can create 6 of these pages. I can put the same background on it, or if each of my groups is doing a different topic, I can put a topic background. And again, it's just the same size as a Google slide, so it's nothing difficult to make. And then I save it as a picture and upload it here. And that way, if group 1, I say, okay, group 1, go find slide 1. You're going to answer that question that you find there, group 2, etc. And I see that somebody said that they've had their students work together on math problems. So if you have a different problem on each page, then they know that they can go work together on that. So there are a lot of things you can do with it. I would highly recommend going to Pinterest and seeing how people are using Jamboard and using it well. It's good for elementary school, it's good for high school, and we're sitting here using it as adults, so it's good for adults as well. So I think anybody that can spell and use an iPad or something like that, that this is beneficial. Now, you can use it in younger groups if you were to use shapes and things like that. So your littles could move shapes around and do some things like that. And you could practice with Jamboard for them as well. This one you can embed straight into your LMS. And since it's Google based, you can access it from anywhere. So it's really cool. This is a newish one that Google came out with, and I really, really like it. So it's been one of my new go-tos as well, one of my back pocket tools. If you have questions again as I'm talking or ideas, I would love for you to jot them in the chat so everybody can see those. I do see some awesome ideas that you guys have on here, like using it to gather information about topics. So like brainstorming with students. We do that in the classroom. If it's a virtual day and you need, because back in the day, we would all put sticky notes on the wall, right? But now you can do it here. Thank you. Amanda has provided a link to a Facebook group for Jamboard. So that's awesome. Jamboard, like I said, it has picked up steam in what people are doing with it. And so there's lots of resources out there. So definitely go grab that group link and join over there. Cool. All right. Next is another tool. It's an add-on in Chrome. I'm just going to talk about it. And when you have a chance to go search for it, I'm going to recommend that you do. It's called Mote. This is really beneficial for especially providing feedback to students. So what you'll see on my screen there is I took pictures of them. So, over in the side, like if I wanted to insert a comment over here, I could do that. But with Mote, it gives me this extra little option here. It looks like a little M in a purple circle. And so when I click that, I can record. So it's recording me right now, and it's listening to me give my feedback. So if I have a document, a Google Doc from a student or something like that, even obviously now a slide, and I want to talk to them, then I can do that. When I say done, it takes a moment and I just make sure that I comment. And then the student or whoever I'm talking to can actually go listen. When I click that, I can record. So it's recording me right now, and it's listening to me give my feedback. So if I have a so this is an add-on or a tool through Google. So it's a Google extension, excuse me. It is an extension. So you would go to Google Chrome and you would look up extensions to look up Mote. One of my science teachers actually brought this to me. She was looking for a way to provide feedback faster than the typing. So COVID year, we all know that added so much stress in a lot of different ways. And one was in having to give good, solid feedback. She discovered that using Mote allowed her to speak and she could get a lot out a lot faster, and the kids could listen to it and hear her tone of voice a lot easier if she used something like this. So she would have them use Google Docs, or they would upload things into Google Docs so she could provide feedback this way. So that was a science teacher. And then I shared it with an English teacher who turned right around and did the same thing. And because it's already inside of Google, it's not an additional click that the kid has to do, right? So they've already logged back into their Google Doc or their document. And then now over here on the side, just like I can do any sort of comment, if I can have my regular comments, but if I need to provide something a little bit longer, then I can do that with voice through Mote. So that's Mote. Questions or thoughts there? Please be sure to put into the chat if you've ever used it. They don't have to have the extension. So once it's in there, they can just hear it. You just need the extension to record it. So it's really cool. That's a great question. All right, Canva. Canva is a website that is gaining speed or gaining momentum as well. It is a place to make graphics. So all of those pictures right there are things that I have created. The middle one with the mouse was for Vacation Bible School, but the rest have to do with school. And you can see that there are lots of different options and lots of different things to do in there. I have down in the speaker notes that I feel like I should get paid by Canva because I talk about them all the time. I've done sessions completely on Canva before. But Canva is, if you haven't used it before, it is an easy way to make graphics that look clean and that look really, really good. They are also quick to make. And once you have uploaded certain things, like for instance, we're the Falcons, so you can see that our logo is all the way through here. Once I've uploaded that, I don't have to go find it again every time. It's in my uploads. And so I can just add that to my images as I make them. This one, I recommend using the free version. I have the paid version simply because on top of doing the social media for the school, I also have a blog. And so I keep up with social media for personal reasons. So I have the paid version, but you don't have to have the paid version to do the cool things. You can absolutely do teachers get a pro account for free. Thank you, Amanda. Yes, I forgot about that. That's right. Teachers do get a pro account for free. And the difference in pro and not pro, there are a couple things. One is that you get some access to different photos and other elements. You also can resize. So let's say that I've created something in the size for Instagram, but I need it to fit Facebook better. I can go up to resize and tell it what size I need it, and it just sort of fixes it for me without me having to fix all that myself. And then I can also save. So I have my brand colors inside. For my blogging, I have a particular palette that I use, so it saves all of that for me. It saves my fonts and all of that. So the pro account, thank you again for reminding us of that, is free. I highly recommend Canva if you don't already use it. So Amanda, obviously you use it. Does anybody else use Canva that could throw a word or two in there about what you use it for and why? Kids can use it too. My own daughter uses it plenty. Students can have the free account and they can create infographics, responses to any sort of material. I've had in my Spanish classroom, they created memes to practice Spanish. In English class and history, they created timelines. Timelines apply to pretty much every content area. So lots and lots of things you can do with Canva, and you can do just about any size you need to do. You can also tell it that you need it to be a particular size. Back on the Jamboard, this is where I made my Jamboard size just because I wanted to make sure I had the right shape, and then I could make it look however cool I wanted it to look. I kept it pretty simple, but you can tell it that you need a Google Slide size or Jamboard size, and it'll help you get that in the right size. Okay. Google Slides, I just wanted to mention it because while they're here and we use them all the time, I think sometimes we try to get a little fancier than we need to, and Google Slides can do it already. So with Google Slides, I can embed, I can publish to the web and make it look like a website. I can update it. I can interact with my peers. We can collaborate and do things together. As you saw, I can leave comments on. So if I have a group that is creating together in class and I am coming back to give feedback, I can do that with Mote, of course, or regular comments, and allow for the students to create in the Google Slides something that they need to create. When we're thinking about SAMR and TPACK here, Google Slides is just like PowerPoint. So you don't want to use it just to use it, but instead for the appropriate purpose. And what are you going to do with that? So if we're trying to expand the student's ability to provide information, then instead of just putting it on paper and writing an essay, now that they're going to have to include graphics and have those tech knowledge where they determine the fonts and the colors and the images and so on that they would put on the slides. So Google Slides is one that I think I have tried to go out and find better tools or different tools or more interesting tools. And I always come back to Google Slides because, again, the way that I can save it, I can access it from any computer anytime. And then I have it too in my Google Drive, and it's right there for me to access and share and use as I need. The last thing I want to share is something called Autocrat. So I'm going to share this with you and give you some information on how to use this on your own. But first, I want to just sort of talk about it. So Autocrat is similar to Mailmerge. Have you guys heard of Mailmerge? But Autocrat is an add-on that you use in Google Sheets or Google. So you can see up here at the top of Google, I have add-ons. And so there are different add-ons that you get in different places. So you don't have Autocrat necessarily in Google Slides. Instead, you have it in Google Sheets. And so with Autocrat, what it does is it takes information and it allows you to then send it out to create documents or certificates or things like that. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I could use it for class assignments. By that, I mean literally assigning students, telling them where they're supposed to go. So for instance, my school has done seminars in the past where the students are given a chance to go take a barber class or go do culinary class. I taught a poetry of hip hop, those sorts of things. And so because they signed up for those on their own, we were able to take their name, their email, and their assignment, and then send that out. And then they got a document that said, hey, Lydia, you're assigned to Poetry of Hip Hop for the week of July 26th. And it fills in all the blanks. Certificate similar, and then anything that you need to be personalized. For instance, we have sent out emails and told kids when their buses were going to come, what bus route they're on, and what bus number and what time their bus was going to come. So let me show you what this looks like, and then I'm going to give you a chance to play. So if I have a sheet, and I've blacked out a couple names because I used this earlier today. If I have a sheet, then I'm going to have a name and an email and the date. And these are things that I'm then going to put into a document. So it would go into whatever document I've created, whether it's a slide or a literal Google Doc. So here, the person has inputted their name on the form or the spreadsheet, and then it fills it in here, and then the date. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just kind of see what this does to you. This is from another presentation that I did this morning. So it's going to say a different name on it, but I wanted you to play with it because it's such a cool tool for lots of things that you can do to help organize in your classroom. So take a second to fill that out, and then check your email because you'll get a small present when done. It'll come straight to your email. And somebody let me know when you've done it, but give me a thumbs up or a done in the chat. Yay. Okay. Did you get it? Once you've done it, be sure to check your email. All right, awesome. There's another one done. Go check your email. Did you get, yay, isn't that cool? I know it says say what, and this is back pockets, but isn't that a cool tool? You can do this for so many different things. We, as an admin team, have set up our feedback for teachers on this. So when we go in, yay, Lisa got hers too. When you go into when we go into a teacher's classroom and we fill out a form, then once that form is done and we hit submit, the teacher gets all the responses immediately, just like you did. And then, so you can make this, something that you would do at the end of a project with students once they've completed, like not a web quest, but something similar, and they fill it out, they could get there. It's kind of like getting a badge. You could do that. Lots of different things. Oh, yay. So y'all are getting them and seeing how that turns out. So here is the link to how to do it. It is my voice explaining how to do Autocrat, and it walks you through the steps for using Autocrat in your classroom or however you need to use it. Okay, so like I said, I thought we might get done a little bit early, but first I would like to ask you all to do this new Jamboard, which is going to ask you to kind of put what is in your back pocket, a tool that you have used and love, and share that with everybody else if you would. And I'm going to pull that Jamboard up so we can all see it. And you'll see that I have a different background on here, but what do you love to do for audio, video? What do you love to do for collaboration? What do you love to do for feedback and engagement? So if you would take a few minutes and throw some tools on there so we can share with one another, give each other ideas. And so I'll get quiet for just a second and let you all start adding. So you guys are giving me some that I'm going to have to go look at. I've never heard of Blooket. Quizzes, a couple of you have mentioned that. Quizzes is very, very cool. Yeah, Google Forms are really handy for sure. I see Edpuzzle on there. I know our school system, our school has used Edpuzzle some. Let me move my piece down. Screencastify is a lot like Screencast-O-Matic and Loom, so those are great. The annotating tools with PDF like Kami and those sorts of things are really handy. Digital breakouts are fun. You can do those even with Google Forms if you weren't aware of that. And so you can Google that. Google Form breakouts are really cool. Kahoot, yes, I love Kahoot. I do love Padlet and Flipgrid. You guys are naming some really awesome tools here. And so it's nice to see what some of us typically fall back on, because I think, like I said, when we see the shiny, pretty things that everybody else is using and we try to go over there and we get ourselves overwhelmed, as some of you were talking about earlier. And it's okay to have one or two or three that are really our go-tos. Obviously, we want to learn a little bit and try some things out, but I think it's beneficial to see that there are several of us saying the same things here with Google Forms and Google Sheets and using those breakout rooms. The kids really do love those. And they really do, especially when there's puzzles to get through those breakout rooms, it pushes the students to think in a way that they don't normally have to think. And it was fun. Another teacher and I stepped into a fellow teacher's room and actually got into competition with the kids doing a breakout. And it was hilarious because the two of us were struggling because obviously we weren't in the midst of studying the same thing they were studying. So we were having to fall back on our knowledge from when we were in high school, which for both of us had been a while. So good, cool. You can feel free to bookmark this. This won't go away so that you can have some of these ideas. You should have access to the slides preview-wise, and that the links are in there. I'll make sure that they're live for all of the other things that we've talked about. Do you have any questions or thoughts or suggestions or just things you'd like to share with the whole group before we get to the sign in for the section, for the credit? Y'all are a quiet bunch. I know it's right after lunch. And after eating, sometimes we get a little quiet. That's okay. Here is the information for how to get that, get your credit. Here is the QR code. I will tell you that they mentioned that and I'll put this in the link. I got an email just a bit ago that said, right after you had asked about that alternate attendance document form, they're saying they're having a little trouble with that at this point. So they should be reaching out to everyone. I'm not sure. Maybe I want to see if that works. Let's see. See if that works now. Yeah, it's letting me log in. So hopefully that will work for you guys. There's that scan code again. And then I'm going to get you the feedback code link right now. So I would appreciate your honest feedback of today's session. I hope you learned something today, or at least got some ideas, something you could do. I know Padlet, we were playing around in there and it seemed like several of us didn't know that one quite so well. So hopefully that's something you can take back to your classroom or to your school and try to use with your students or staff. But I really appreciate you all coming today. We're done a little bit earlier than the scheduled time. But thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Awesome, Lisa. Thank you for letting me know that. I hope you have a great day. Thank you, Marcy. Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.